This is the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino, and tonight I'm joined by James and Paddy as we once again cover all things Celtic. James, Celtic made it 3 wins from 3 at the weekend, and we didn't even need a recognised number 9 to do so. What do you make of the win over Hibs and the way Celtic are playing at the moment?
I mean, it's just great to get the third win. Momentum's a big thing in any part of your season, but early doors especially. We know we had a stutter last year with Kilmarnock and none of that this year. And Dyson's went and solved a recruitment headache as well. So you can see it coming. It's going to be Kyogo, Ida and Dyson. And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, depending on how strong we are in the wings.
We'll get to that in a minute. But we done the pre-match, myself and Brydo, on Friday, Paddy, and we pitched it as Adam Ida set to start on his return to Celtic Park. No Adam Ida, at least not in the start lineup. No Kyogo, and Dyson steps in. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I think fair play to Dyson coming in and getting into a position that he's not been playing in quite a lot. So yeah, you can say he's familiar with it, but I'm pretty sure that would have been the plan all week. And I think maybe Ida, let's get him in, get him settled and see where he is fitness wise. I don't know what's been happening down in Norwich, but I reckon that they've made the right call for the right reasons. And nice to bring him on with half an hour to go as well. I thought good for him to get that reception as well. It was good for the morale. So yeah, Maeda, fair play to him. I see where you're coming from, James. I'm just a bit like, God, they just get away with stuff, don't they?
Why don't you just do it right?
But the worry is that I think we've seen over the last couple of seasons with Kyogo and with Maeda that there's an injury in them because they put everything on the line for the jersey, and yeah, that would be my only issue there.
If you can't be good, be lucky, Paddy. And at the moment, Celtic have lucked out that you've got a Dice Maeda that can do everything he does on the wings and also slot in at number 9 when required. Yeah. Paddy, I'm asking you questions about Celtic like you're a man that would know. You've spent most of the weekend, at least from early on Saturday, pretty blittered. But I believe you're at a wedding. Do you want to give a shout out to Nicky and the folks?
Yeah, thanks for that, Tino. Yeah, big shout out to Nicky and Kirsten on their wedding on Saturday. And then, we had a few pints yesterday. So for all the listeners, my memory of the game yesterday isn't too much. I wasn't there. I seen it on the TV and it was bits and bobs because I'd too many people shouting in my ear.
Fair play. James, I'll come to you just now. Paddy can make up some stuff about the game just shortly. But as I mentioned, no Kyogo, no Ida. You've leaned towards it, but I think we do need a backup striker. Rodgers is on record now, knowing that he's got a Maeda in the background, saying he wants 3 frontmen, being Kyogo, another, and Adam Ida's now that guy, and a third option, potentially a young striker to provide competition. We're still there at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, yourself and Joe covered a wee bit of it in the post-match yesterday. We're certainly not going to sign a striker of Kyogo or Ida's calibre to play third fiddle. I think Joe invented the term.
That's a term.
Like it.
But if we could, I'd love us to get a young up-and-coming striker, that's really going places and needs a platform, because Celtic are a great platform for someone like that who can come off the bench, perform, get themselves noticed, and then move on in a couple of years' time and develop under Celtic. That's where we should be selling ourselves, and should have been for a long time, as a developing entity for these players. Got young guys like that. Other than that, I don't see us signing anyone for that position. I suppose the alternative would be we promote from within, but that's not looking likely.
I don't know who. There's nobody chapping the door as far as I can see, Paddy. I don't think this third striker position is an absolute priority. We do have Dice Maeda as a reasonable third striker at the club behind Ida and Kyogo. I've got far more focus personally on left back and left centre back. I know some guys are keen for a winger, potentially another midfielder. But in terms of the guys that are there just now, Adam Ida, obviously, he signed just after our recording last week. What a reception he got, as you mentioned. Probably the biggest cheer of the day. He come on, we've scored 3 goals there, but he comes on after all of that. Get a massive, roar at Celtic Park. I think he's going to be great for Celtic.
Yeah, I think, and a well-deserved reception, absolutely. I think his contribution last season was excellent for us. I think a massive help in what we went on to achieve. And listen, a lot of people were saying he didn't start an awful lot of games, but what I loved about his press conference as well was just talking about whether I'm starting or not. It's we're all a team, and I think that's the message in modern day football for a lot of these guys. He will bide his time. The likelihood is that it will be his main shirt next season. I don't, for me personally, I don't see Kyogo staying for maybe this season and then maybe moving on. I wonder if those assurances have already been made to Adam Ida, but one thing is for sure is that he has got a good relationship with Kyogo, and I think that the two of them can learn off each other. I really do. I think he's going to be a big player for us. He's going to be involved in Europe this season, this time round as well, and it'll be a different dynamic for us in terms of how we set up. Whether he starts games, whether he comes on to have an impact, well, I'm sure we'll soon find out. But I just think it's a very good bit of business. Now for me, yeah, I would like a prospect to come in absolutely in that position, and I think someone that's got to prove himself a little bit. Still talks about your lad for Brøndby, Visgarden, but again, does he want to come in now and be third choice? I don't know.
He's also 6 or 7 million. I don't see you spending that, doing a third.
No, that's true as well. That's true as well. But I think that the priority now, as you say, Tino, goes on to those positions that definitely need a bit of help.
James, Paddy's mentioned Kyogo there, and the fact that this time next year he may well be gone, and who knows. We know that he changed agent recently. He signed up with CAA Base, which is Ange's agency, amongst some other big names. You might have heard Brendan Rodgers speaking post-match about Kyogo, and I don't know if I'm reading between the lines, but he was talking about Kyogo's the only guy that can make the decision on getting that shoulder operated on. It's not for the club to decide. He said it's up to the individual. It would take him out of the action for 3 or 4 months. And he mentioned a couple of things about how it's something that he's managed ongoing, and it's up to him. He's 30 years of age now. He sounded a wee bit perturbed about it, a wee bit annoyed about it, and they made the decision between them, by all accounts, to not feature Kyogo against Hibs in the League Cup there. What do you think about it? Do you think, this isn't causing mischief or speculating, but do you think maybe there's something to that and Kyogo might move on sooner than expected?
No, obviously changing agents is the big flag, but not from what Rodgers was saying. He's maybe just a bit pissed off that it's not been sorted before now, because it's been there the whole time he's been at Celtic, and he's constantly coming up against physical players that are trying to exploit it, and commentators who think that's perfectly fine, part of the game, to test his shoulder and test Calmack's cheekbone and all that kind of stuff. So it's always going to be a challenge. It should have been sorted before now, because you've had that injury. It doesn't go away. It's always going to be loose.
I could have been a contender, Paddy. That's where me and Kyogo, the comparisons end, actually.
Well, absolutely, aye. You're spot on.
It's a kind of situation, though, during his time at Celtic, he's never really had the luxury of being able to say, right, we're in a great position now, we can take Kyogo out for a few months. He's been the recognised number 9 since he came in the door effectively. Giacomakis backed him up, and there's been other guys around. Obviously, didn't do it, and now Adam Ida steps in. But you're just on the cusp now of a really exciting Champions League campaign. So is he going to do it now? I don't know.
We can't afford it.
Maybe he should have done it the moment Celtic beat Rangers at Hampden. Maybe that was the time to go and get that done. I don't know the ins and outs of it. And maybe is that the individual doesn't want to go for the op. Maybe he's happy to manage it through, and who knows.
At that point, we're starting with to start our season for 2 months.
It could have kicked things into play a bit quicker though, and I actually think that it comes from, for me, as much as it was a crucial point of the season, I think if we bring Ida in at the beginning of January, or a more recognised striker at that point at the beginning of January, then you say, right, this is the time to do it too. Then you might have him back for the running, like we did in his first season as well. For me, I think there's possibly an element of Kyogo not wanting to do this because he is thinking, my next move in Europe is going to be my last in Europe, and I need to like bankroll myself. I think he will be thinking about, am I going to get that potential move? It's going to give me 2-3 more seasons playing at a high level with a really, really good weekly wage, or does he go and take the risk and maybe not get back into the team?
If I was the buying club, I'd rather sign him fixed than broken.
I get that.
He might come back fixed shoulder, out of form, out of sorts. There's no right time to go and get this from a player's point of view. There's always reasons not to do so, and it's a tricky one for the player, and I fully get that. I just think that Rodgers doesn't seem best pleased at the way it's all played out and what he's got to deal with right now. That aside, Celtic under Rodgers playing really good football just now. 3 wins from 3, 9 goals scored, averaging 3 goals a game. Some folks, Paddy, are saying it's better, even better than what we're seeing under Angeball. What do you think of that?
I think that the comparisons there are a little bit different for me. I think Angie's second season, some of the football we were playing at the very beginning of that was excellent. What it's reminding me of is the second season under Rodgers. It's starting to kind of really...
This is the second season?
No, I know, times 2, part 2.
Was that Invincible?
No, the first season was Invincible. I think for me, the second season under Rodgers, actually we started to really kick kick on after the Hearts defeat when they stopped the record. I think then it was again of just regrouping, buying into what they'd achieved the season before. This time it's a bit different because it was a plethora of things last season where we had so many injuries. We had, like a lot of suspensions as well at certain points throughout the season. Europe was quite tough on us too. And basically the players weren't up to the level required or buying into what a manager was wanting. You see the difference in it. You see the difference in it already. And I think that, we're going to blow teams away if we keep playing this way. Ultimately, there will come a point though where it's a game twice a week. And we need to have a fit enough squad to do that. Injuries will come. The way we play football is inevitable. So I think that this is where we as fans are saying, yeah, we appreciate the level that we can play at, back it up.
Rodgers referenced just that yesterday, Paddy. He was saying that at the moment you've got week to week during each game, which is great, allows him time on the training pitch with the players. But after this next international break, which is only a couple of games away, between then and March, it's really condensed, European fixtures, cup fixtures, whatever it might be, your Saturday, Wednesday, give or take TV stuff. It's going to be pretty relentless when it gets to that. But in the meantime, James, I'm sure it's been pretty enjoyable for you. You were back at the stadium yesterday, having given up your season ticket, but because Paddy was so drunk at the weekend,
thanks, Paddy.
You got his ticket.
Imagine
yesterday.
putting you in it, but
how's your boycott going?
No, exactly.
So back at the stadium, James, I'm sure you're enjoying what you're watching.
It's fantastic, and genuine thanks to Paddy and Johnny for the tickets, myself and Stevie.
Couple of booze bags.
Great seats, North Stand, a lot of stairs, but we managed to get
beggars can't be choosers.
Have you seen the shape I'm in?
Indeed. Aye, and it's just that being my first game of the season. That's something I'd really missed, not seeing the first game of the season. But just being back in it, great atmosphere. We were talking before the game, myself and Paddy, that there was a bit of a worry that was it on the season ticket for everyone or only for some? Some? No, it wasn't on yours.
Wasn't on
It was
anybody's.
in your cup scheme.
Without getting into this too much, there's certainly been a change in what's included in the season ticket, and Hamish covered it, I think, in quite a bit of detail in one of his videos. But basically, kind of on the quiet, you lost a friendly, and then you lost this, and before you know it, you've just got your standard games.
So with that being the case, as we were chatting, it was like, it could be quiet because people will vote with their feet. But I think, the early form in the season and Ida being back, all that stuff lended to, a packed house. Obviously, Hampden on Saturday, that was eerily silent. The gallant few, just pretty scary stuff. So full house, plenty of noise, great atmosphere. Yeah, loved it.
I seen the Rangers players, Paddy, after beating St Johnstone, go to greet all their fans and stuff, but they could have saved some time just on a group WhatsApp. Just got their details and sent a wee text out. Thanks for coming along, Davey. But any less of them. I want to spend a wee bit of time just in this last part of the opening section on Nicholas Kuhn, a guy who I think has been a revelation since the start of the campaign. Looks like a completely different player to the one that arrived in January. I think one of his first games was that game against Hibs where Adam Ida shone and scored these 2 penalties. Nicholas Kuhn did not.
No.
He really struggled that day and there was early concerns. I've got to read a quote from Brendan Rodgers. It's actually longer than I thought it was, so bear with me, but it's pretty
the rest
good
of the
stuff.
show.
We'll see how this goes. Brendan Rodgers says, he was speaking about the time that it's taken Kuhn to settle in. He said, it's just adaptation. I think that in the modern world we want everything straight away, but in football it hasn't changed over many, many years. It's development, it's time, it's settlement. It's also understanding what it takes for a player to settle. You can't just come from one country and then drop into somewhere else and expect it to be exactly the same. Thankfully at Celtic we've got an amazing player support department that looks after a lot of the needs of these players when they come in, and so that has allowed him to settle. When he came in January, it was obviously a difficult moment in the season for health reasons and he just took a little bit of time. But you see the importance of having a good pre-season. He looks faster, he looks stronger, he looks more dynamic and he's more aggressive in his game because that was what he needed to do. I think I said to other players in the past that when you're up there, you've got to score goals and create goals. That's your job. It's as simple as that. So he's doing his job very well. And he is, James, he's shining.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, he finished the season strong and his pre-season was better than that and his start to the season has continued in that vein. Yeah, I think last season the explanations came out pretty quick as to, because we were pretty scared after that Hibs game we'd signed an absolute turkey. He was so poor. And then it was obvious he just wasn't fit. Any athlete losing a stone in weight, that seriously affects your performance. So Celtic PR, media, call what you will, they did a good job in getting that explanation out there and letting us know what's going on. But since then, he finished the season strong, scored a really important goal against Aberdeen in the semi. Finished the season, as a player that we could see something in, and we're really starting to benefit now.
He's like a new signing, Paddy.
He's been a joy to watch. I would agree with you on that. I think for me, it looks as if he's been spending a bit of time with James Forrest. I think this is close control and really being a little bit more patient on the ball in those tighter areas has been so evident. He looks comfortable. He looks as if he's wanting to try things, and it doesn't look. I remember I think it might have been the game against Hibs in his debut, and the ball ran away from him, and it was quite a stutter, almost as in like, what do I do here? What do I do next? And yeah, that puts the fear into you as a fan. But yeah, he looks comfortable with it all now. I think he's really fit into the side, and he will learn from the likes of James Forrest, especially playing out in the right. I think that's going to help him. But he's getting better and better by each game, and this is probably why he's had the opportunities at Ajax and why he's had the opportunity at Bayern Munich, because that something has been there. It's just not happened for him. It's not materialising, and he's not kicked on with it. But hopefully we benefit from that.
It's clear to see that he's got talent, and I think we know that Brendan Rodgers is a coach that can get that talent out of young players. He likes to work with guys who are maybe haven't fulfilled their potential or have maybe had a lull in their career. I think Scott Sinclair being a great example. Things weren't quite ticking for him. Brendan Rodgers, turns all that around, and I think Nicholas Kuhn is a guy who'll really benefit from that. And what you've seen, James, Rodgers has spoken frequently about the fact that he doesn't just want the goals to come from his number 9, whether it's Kyogo or Adamida that we've mentioned. He needs his wide players, or his additional forwards as he calls them, to get amongst the goals. And Nicholas Kuhn, he's a goal a game. He's 3 goals for 3 games this season, and that's really encouraging.
Of course it is, and I think he fits well into, whether it's the modern way that football's gone or certainly the way that Celtic have gone since Rodgers' first stint, then definitely under Ange and definitely under Rodgers this stint, in that it's not 2 wingers and a striker, it's 3 strikers, one in the left, one in the right, one through the middle. And Kyogo, which we didn't get a chance to see yesterday, Kyogo adapting his game to come a bit deeper and play that central role that the 2 guys are playing out in the left and the right. They just complement each other so well, and I think we'll do really well out of that. Obviously, there's more support to come in terms of recruitment and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things that are right at Celtic at the moment, and if we get a couple of other things right, we've got a real chance of doing something.
Yeah,
this was the chat, Paddy. We're playing on the park. It's spot on. Really exciting to watch, and that started in the States from the pre-season stuff. We've kicked that right on over these first 3 competitive games. If we can just manage to make those key additions, we're now 10 days out, give or take. It's a week on Thursday when the window closes. I said it before, you're only 2 or 3 additions from being a really, really decent side, but you're only 2 or 3 losses from kind of being back to square one. There are suggestions, we'll get to in a wee bit, that Brighton have ramped up their situation in terms of O'Reilly. Leicester are still in for Rio Hitati, and we can't afford to lose those 2, but we'll get to that. But the bottom line is, Paddy, we're seeing some great stuff in the park. Couple of additions, we could be in a great place.
I think so. Listen, I've still kind of resigned myself to the O'Reilly thing. However, as I say, if it was to stay for 6 months and get the Champions League games, excellent. And I would be very surprised to think the Celtic are waiting on O'Reilly to sanction moves. I would be really upset if that was the case.
Might be the level of move.
True, but then if he's not going to go in this window, the chances are he is going to go in the January window. I think you just bite the bullet. Yeah, 6 months extra wages, I understand that, but for what the guy's giving you, and don't play that risky game and affect the guy coming in and already get him playing alongside the team as it is already, and then when we lose O'Reilly in the January, if it was to happen like that replacement's there and it's all ready to go. I think one of the things what we've spoke about with Celtic over the last few seasons is not capitalising in strong moments.
Yeah.
And I do think, like you say, Tino, it is 2 or 3 players. And I do still think it should be 4 or 5 coming in, but 2 or 3 that are going to challenge for a starting place. I just think that we're so close to it. So please, let's try and do that.
Exactly. Do you know, we're in a quite a precarious situation. We're quite fragile at the moment, because you can see the potential of what could be, but you can also see the down, the negative kind of projection on what could also be if we don't make these moves. We'll catch a lot of that in the second section of the show, particularly with some of the O'Reilly chat and what Rodgers has been saying about still potentially needing another midfielder beyond Matt O'Reilly, which is quite encouraging. James, last piece of news just on that League Cup chat is that we face Falkirk in the quarterfinals for a place at Hampden. That game's scheduled for the 21st of September at the moment. Rodgers was glowing about John McGlynn, a guy that he took under his wing when it looked like he was maybe going to fall out of football. And he was really delighted that he's found himself in a pretty decent position with Falkirk, who beat Hearts 2-0 to make it through. So it's not a given by any stretch.
No, far from it. I mean, they're flying, and just really, really well set up, playing good football, keeping things tight at the back. Are they going for back-to-back promotions? You know, they're challenging like that. You know, they've done so well in that regard. So you can't take anything for granted there at all. It'll be a really tough challenge. The benefit being it's at Celtic Park, which should obviously make us stronger. If that was going away to, it's not Brockville, is it? Well,
it's not Brockville.
Has it been since the 80s? Whatever. The Falkirk Stadium.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been a much bigger challenge going to a small stadium, potentially an AstroTurf type stadium. They don't call it AstroTurf anymore, do they?
Jeez, the old guys here tonight, Paddy.
Yes.
Do you know why they call it AstroTurf?
Go on.
Because it was first placed in the Astrodome in America.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you listen really carefully, you can just hear us losing some listeners, Paddy, live on air. But that game, as I say, it's scheduled for 21st of September, and with a bit of luck, James, Paddy might be back on the sauce and you'll get his ticket for that one. So we'll see how it goes. As always, we've got the Final Whistle show available right now. That was myself and Joe recorded that shortly after the game yesterday. Links to that and all of our episodes are at thecelticexchange.com. Let's take a very short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a couple of new listeners' questions regarding our European aspirations for the season.